And now I'd like to introduce our first keynote, Omari Bouknight. Omari is a medical tech executive, entrepreneur, author, and investor with substantial experience in developing and launching novel cardiac technologies globally. He is a Divisional Vice President of U.S. Commercial of Abbott's Structural Heart organization. He leads the introduction of innovative transcatheter and surgical cardiac devices to the U.S. market. He has built successful organizations throughout his career and operating both within private and public arenas. He's passionate about leading teams and bringing life-enhancing innovation to untreated patient population. And his experience covers a range of product commercialization and pipeline development requirements with a focus on therapeutic medical technologies. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction. If we could all have those kind of introductions in our life every day, I think we all would be happier people.
Every morning.
Every morning, exactly. So I was asked to speak on a topic that I feel very passionate about. So I was really excited to be asked to speak about this, which is about personal development. And my spin on it is really, what is personal development for professional growth? And what are areas that we can focus on in our personal lives that can actually amplify and accelerate our professional opportunities. And this is something that I've experienced quite a bit in my career, and so hope to provide some perspectives around it. Now, when we talk about professional growth, I think it's important to understand and appreciate that professional growth is not just related to what you do. We often think about professional growth as what we do, and certainly in our profession, that's really about what we do. But professional growth is just as related to who you are as what you do. So stated again, your professional growth will not just be related to what you do, but it'll also be related to who you are. So let's talk about how we think about those two different buckets. When we talk about what you do, we're often talking about your role in your position. We're talking about your professional experiences, the number of years of experience you've had, but also what those professional experiences have been made up of, your industry and your function, and management and leadership responsibilities. When we talk about what you do in the professional environment, this is generally the framework that we're referring to. We oftentimes do not think as much about who you are in relationship to what you do. But I would argue that it's a critical success factor to focus on your own personal development, which relates to who you are. When I think about who we are, I think about our skills, our capabilities, our hobbies, things that we do outside of the work environment. I think about our personal experiences that help to color how we view the world. You know, oftentimes that's directly related to our worldview. I think about our educational background, both formal and informal. Educational background is just not the letters after your name, but it's really the assortment of experiences that you've taken and absorbed in your educational environments and careers. It's also your upbringing and family. I think that's very also informative in terms of your worldview. And then lastly, it's your network, and not just your professional network, but also your personal network. The people you're connected to often dictates what you're exposed to, and that dictates your worldviews, your perspectives, and it informs some of these other areas as well. So it's important to develop who you are just as much as it is important to develop what you do in order to drive professional growth. And I'd like to take the next couple of minutes here and just sort of emphasize and provide perspective on what I mean specifically in terms of developing who you are. Now, as we talk about developing who you are or developing personally, your personal development, it's important to note that focusing on personal development may not directly relate to professional benefits in a straight line. What I mean by that is when you focus on personal development, you may not be able to say, if I learn to do X, this is going to lead to Y. And I'll give you some examples of that. But when you focus on personal development, what you're really doing is emphasizing focus on development of your whole being, recognizing that overall, over time, this will pay dividends in the professional environment, but you might not be able to create a straight line from A to B. So let's talk about areas to consider developing. Public speaking and presentation skills. This is a critical success factor for all of us. It doesn't matter what area, what function, what role, presentation and public speaking skills are absolutely critical. Think about walking into the room for the first time with a number of individuals who are looking at you, considering you. The first thing that generally people assess is appearance, whether we like it or not. You walk in the room, someone looks at you and they're taking you in from an appearance perspective. The second thing that they will assess immediately is how you engage from a speaking perspective. This is an area that we all benefit from in terms of focusing on developing, enhancing our public speaking and presentation skills. And literally, it'll be something that will pay off for you every day of the week. There have been a couple of experiences that I've had personally that have been helpful for me in this area. While I was in college, I had an opportunity to have a job as a telemarketer. And I have to tell you, there's no more difficult job than getting on the phone and talking to strangers and trying to convince them of something. So this was the first area that helped me to hone my public speaking skills. But I'll tell you what was critical for me was through work, I had the opportunity to participate in an initiative where someone who was an expert in public speaking would come in. They would put you on camera, just like we are today, and they would record you. And they would find all sorts of tendencies that you would have in your speaking that you wouldn't even realize you were doing, whether it was intonation, whether it was filler words that you would throw in to fill gaps. It was really fascinating to see how this mirror process would help to illuminate how you speak and how you engage and would allow you to improve your capabilities. So I would definitely recommend for people as they think about personal development, think about ways that you might be able to enhance your public speaking and presentation skills. And there are a number of avenues that you can undertake to be able to do that. I believe this has been a critical success factor for me. Persuasive writing skills. Now, I know there's been a lot recently made of ChatGPT, and I can tell you it's a wonderful tool, but having persuasive writing skills, especially in real-time dynamic, will always be critical. And that really also ties back to public speaking and presentation skills. There will be often occasions where you have a situation like this, where people will have questions, you have to think on your feet, you have to engage, you have to respond. You're not going to be able to consult ChatGPT in that period of time. Persuasive writing skills, in my opinion, is a lost art. And it really comes down to being persuasive, being able to share your perspective, being able to negotiate, to be able to write clearly your thoughts and drive direction and guidance. And very early on, focusing on writing was something that I was very passionate about. And I found over a period of time that my ability to write has been very powerful tools. Early in my career, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to send out a communication to a group of folks who didn't know me. And later on, they would meet me later on and say, wow, I got your note and I thought you must have been much older based off of how you wrote it. It was just convincing, it was compelling. And so again, how we present ourselves, there's a number of ways that we do it. Writing is a critical success factor, in my opinion. Now, I've always had a passion for writing. And just to kind of emphasize some of these items, I wanted to just highlight a couple of things that I've been fortunate to be able to do. It's not to say that everyone has to do these types of things, but just to kind of put a finer point on them. One of the things that I was really interested in doing was writing a book. So at one period of time, I wrote a book on how to get into business school. And I wrote that during business school. And it turned out as I was looking for a job and people would go through my resume, that was the first thing that they wanted to talk to me about was this book. How did I go through the process? And it really allowed me to be set apart from other people who were looking for positions. So I think that was one way. Again, you couldn't tell from point A, focusing on being able to write a book, that would help me get employed, but it did. So we didn't see that point A to point B. It wasn't a straight line, but that enhancement and development of those skills were beneficial. Foreign language acquisition. I think this is one that we don't focus on enough in the US. I think that being able to connect with other people, we certainly connect through many ways. We connect through music, we connect through cooking, and we connect through language. And obtaining and acquiring a foreign language is one way to have that connection. You don't have to become completely fluent in the language, but I can promise you focusing on foreign language acquisition can pay dividends. And it's easier to be able to do this now than ever. There's lots of ways that you can work with a language professional through Skype or Verbal Planet and other avenues that can allow you to acquire a foreign language and at a reasonable cost. And I think that will open additional doors in terms of other countries. And that's the next point, is international travel. I've been fortunate to travel to somewhere around 60 countries so far, and we live in a global environment that's going to be much more global. And I think as we consider how we engage with other people and in a global environment, it's always nice to be able to talk to someone who's from Brazil and talk about your experiences in Brazil, or someone from Japan and talk to them about your experiences in Japan. It's a natural way of being able to connect, and when tied together with a language capability as a personal area of development, that will pay dividends in the professional environment. And then the last one is really network development and hobbies. So I think that as we think about our network, we often think about the professional environment, but when you have certain hobbies, you'll find yourself in circles where you'll naturally connect with other people. And being able to have that powerful personal network oftentimes spills over to the professional environment. Just this past week, I got together with about 11 friends that I haven't seen for some time. And it was interesting just to see the intersection of points and connections and ways that we could encourage and help each other out, even in the professional environment, although we're personal friends. So I think having hobbies and having a strong personal network will be something that will pay off in the professional environment. So these are our 5 areas that have natural but unpredictable intersections with professional opportunities. This is the book that I had the opportunity to author. And I think this has paid off in a number of ways, not financially. Actually, writing books is not very financially lucrative, it turns out. But in terms of being able to hone my writing skills, in terms of setting myself apart in certain environments, and learning about the process of putting together a business plan to be able to get a book published, this has been something that has just been very rewarding for a very long time. Language acquisition and international travel. So I started taking German when I was probably about 12 years old, and people would oftentimes ask why in the world I was doing that. And I couldn't give them a good reason, but I kept going with it all the way through college. And it took some years, but after working in the professional environment for, I don't know, about 10 years, I received an opportunity to actually move with my family over to Germany and build a team focused on bringing a new product to market. And that's something I would not have been able to do if I didn't have German in my back pocket. And so investing in myself and developing an opportunity to acquire a language has been huge. And that company is still going on today. I still see that team over in Germany thriving and growing. I just saw a post on LinkedIn about the hiring they're making. And you can imagine how it makes you feel to see something that you help plant the seeds on grow in such a manner. So that was really powerful. And then lastly, a little bit on international travel. Here's just a photo of me in Morocco. No, I don't have a hobby of holding vipers in my hands, but it has been fascinating to be able to travel around the world and make these connections with other people and really develop a global mindset, which is what really comes down to. So it's been a great aspect of my professional development to be able to develop these areas from a personal standpoint. And I will stop there and just thank you for the opportunity to give my thoughts on personal development and how it can pay off in the professional world.